too much stock in it. Do I think he was drugged? No. Do I think Fury cheated? No. But he hurt him in the third round, and he just wasn't the same for the rest of the fight. That wasn't Wilder, the fighter from the round 3 on. That was a dude off balance that Fury still couldn't stop.
You mean it was?
And if he doesn't throw his equilibrium off in the third round again, he's not going to stop him. And that threat's going to be there till the end of the fight. And you know it is. But people are so angry at the accusations. They're so mad at they're mad at the LDBC, and they're mad at the Dante's Boxing Nations, and Fanon said this, and you guys are getting mad at what's being said, but you're forgetting the fact that this dude's a devastating puncher that can knock any man on this planet out, including your dude, Tyson Fury, regardless of what he said, because what he said and what he's done and what the accusation he made means nothing.
Interesting story this week with Deontay Wilder adding Don House to his training team. This is a gentleman that has trained fighters. He trained Bermane Stiverne. He's been a cut man in the UFC. I believe in Caleb Plant's fight with Uzcategui, he was the cut man in that fight as well. Interesting storyline here, though, is in an interview when Bermane Stiverne was preparing for Chris Arreola, and when they fought for the WBC vacant heavyweight title, Don House was being interviewed at one of the press conferences, after one of the press conferences, I should say. And he told the interview when he was asked about Deontay Wilder, he said Deontay Wilder had a padded record. And he even called out Deontay Wilder's last opponent at that time, which was Malik Scott. And he accused Malik Scott of taking a dive. And he said the fight was disgraceful. Lo and behold, 8 years later, now he's in the camp. So Deontay Wilder always talks about loyalty. He talks about, people going behind his back, people, trusting his inner circle and having to get rid of people in his inner circle because of things they say or do. But now he's bringing this guy in who was basically very disparaging towards him, and not only him, but Malik Scott as well. So will this help? And is this a little bit of hypocrisy on Deontay Wilder's part? Maestro, I want to go to you first because I know you got some interesting things to say about this.
Well, number one, Deontay Wilder is a very low intelligent person, so I don't even think he's able to analyze everything that you just said or understand it. But let's just pretend that he does and that he is capable of, reconciling the kind of, if we call it, maybe hypocrisy is too harsh of a word, but inconsistency in his actions. I think that psychologically it's a sign that he's grasping, man. He's a few weeks away from the fight. He's grasping at things that are going to help him against Fury because, guys, the writing's on the wall. Fury outboxed him coming off of a fat camp, got off the canvas after taking his best shot. And in the rematch, whooped his ass from pillar to post. I don't think there were very many positive moments for Deontay Wilder in that fight. He landed a couple shots on Fury. Fury rode them and returned fire and knocked his ass out. Subsequently, it was the Wakanda suit. It was the disloyal trainer. It was my trainer spiked my water. It was white privilege. It was, what were all the, I don't have time, Joe, to fill the rest of this show with the litany of excuses.
Too harsh of a statement.
The litany of excuses that Deontay Wilder made following that fight. So apparently the king of the African Americans, if not all black people across the world, the king of Wakanda, is attempting to return to his rightful place as the heir to the heavyweight throne, as the not only heir apparent to Muhammad Ali, but the guy who surpassed Muhammad Ali, not only in in-ring accomplishments, but in the adversity he's faced outside of the ring. So, you're talking about a guy who's faced more adversity outside of the ring than Muhammad Ali. What can I say, Joe? Clearly he can surpass potentially another disloyal black man, another crab in the bucket. I forgot that one. He called Kenny Bayless a crab in the bucket. I mean, he's been facing adversity his whole life. I mean, what's another disloyal black man? What's another a crab in the bucket, so to speak? So, I'm very flabbergasted by this, to be honest, but I just think the writing's on the wall for another Fury KO, and I'll leave it at that.
Gotcha. Eric, what are your thoughts, brother, on this move by Deontay Wilder?
I think it's brilliant. He brings this guy in who says, he had a padded record. Malik Scott, former guy he knocked out. So when he loses against Fury again for the third time, he's going to be able to blame Don House. He's going to be able to blame Malik Scott because Malik Scott wanted revenge because he got knocked out. So, and Don House was, talking trash about him. He'll have a billion built-in excuses because he can't wear that same suit again. So he can't use that. He's got to wear something a lot lighter and a lot, less heavy, can't be 40 pounds again. So he's got a whole lot of built-in excuses already. I think it's brilliant. I think it's a brilliant thing.
Gotcha. Dave, what do you think about this move?
It's too little, too late, man. It's this fight is just right around the corner. There's nothing that's going to save him from a bad performance except himself. Too little, too late. And by the way, Bermain, he was a nasty guy. Like when we'd see him in fights in Vegas, man, he just the last thing he wanted to do was talk to people like us.
Gotcha. Gee, what are your thoughts on this move? Is it going to have any impact, if at all?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to have much of an impact, but it is very peculiar to put a guy on your team who's said these things about you, and you're really big on loyalty, But I mean, it doesn't surprise me from what's been coming from the Wilder camp and Wilder himself over the last year or so. It's very surprising, but it'll be. I have a feeling if he loses, it'll be like Eric said, it'll be just another built-in excuse at the end of the day. And I do believe he will lose this fight, but I want to say to you guys out there, I don't. I'm usually pretty good at predicting fights, but for some reason in this whole Fury Wilder thing, I've gotten every fight wrong. All right, so. I mean, you can take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, but I am rolling with Fury here, and I don't think this guy is going to make a difference.
I have a sneaky suspicion that D-Style is going to say that this is going to help Deontay Wilder get that KO, but I'm just waiting. I'm waiting to hear from D-Style.
Thank you so much, Alexis LL, with the $2 super chat. Hola, RoundTable. Thank you so much.
Pronunciation. Press.
D, go ahead, brother.
First of all, I get the sarcasm. I do. But Wilder's not smart enough to know what Beeb just said. Come on. Okay, that's like super hating. I'm just saying.
Is it?
Right?
I mean, the guy said that the guy said that Fury had egg weights in his glove. You got to be a pretty big dumbass to say that.
No. Okay.
What about the Wakanda suit?
I think religious people are delusional. There's a lot of smart religious people. That doesn't mean being delusional doesn't mean it's not a very smart person could be delusional, right? No, I'm not saying he's a real smart person. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying, I'm not saying he's a scientist, right? But I don't think he's dumb. I don't think he's a retard or something. I don't. I'm sorry. I think he's competent. I remember the Wilder that went to the Olympics and did you know what I mean? I mean, come on. I get that. I get the frustration, Milcar, of the accusations. I get throwing Mark Breland under the bus, but if you don't become a parody of it, trying to make a point is all I'm saying. At the end of the day, okay.
I legitimately believe that Deontay Wilder is a dumbass.
Well, look,
I'm not trolling. That's no cap.
Okay,
the guy said that a 40-pound suit cost him the fight. Flash forward a couple days, then his water was spiked. Flash forward a couple days after that, I mean, it was more than a couple. I mean, he did get his head. He did get a dent.
Athletes,
right? No, actually, you know what? I'm sorry. He's not dumb. I'm sorry. I take it back. he got a dent put in his head because Fury obviously was wearing egg weights. It's not his fault he's saying this stuff.
I don't know.
He got a dent put in his head.
I think he's capable. I think he's smarter than you make it out. That's what I'll say, right? But that's. I'll say this, okay? So he hires this dude that said something at one point, right? I get it. Like basically accused of Malik Scott of throwing the fight, right? Pretty much what he did. And I think we all, at least I feel, the fight was it's suspicious to say at best, okay? But what I will say is this: it's irrelevant, okay? And I hope Fury isn't as confident as you are, Milcar. Like you're not gonna see like Fury can just walk in there and just beat the fuck out of him and leave or some shit. Like no, like this. I'm being very serious when I say this. Regardless of what your opinion of Wilder the person is, okay? Wilder the fighter is a very dangerous individual with the most devastating right hand I've seen in decades in the heavyweight division. Okay? And if he lands flush, I don't care. Oh, he did it before. The brain doesn't always react the same way. He can knock out Tyson Fury. And we know that because he's knocked him down and hurt him twice. Okay? So what I'll say is this. Don't be too confident. Like, I'm picking Fury too, but let me just tell you something. I've never gotten a Fury fight right, and I never got in a fight in this fucking trilogy right either. Okay? So, like, the fact that I'm picking Fury, I don't even know what that means. All right? But, like, I'm telling you guys right now, there's too much stock being put in the second fight. There's too much stock in it. Do I think he was drugged? No. Do I think Fury cheated? No. But he hurt him in the third round, and he just wasn't the same for the rest of the fight. That wasn't Wilder, the fighter, from the round 3 on. That was a dude off balance that Fury still couldn't stop.
You mean it was?
And if he doesn't throw his equilibrium off in the third round again, he's not going to stop him. And that threat's going to be there till the end of the fight. And you know it is. But people are so angry at the accusations. They're so mad at they're mad at the LDBC, and they're mad at the Dante's Boxing Nations, and Fanon said this, and you guys are getting mad at what's being said, but you're forgetting the fact that this dude's a devastating puncher that can knock any man on this planet out, including your dude, Tyson Fury, regardless of what he said, because what he said and what he's done and what the accusation he made means nothing.
No, D-Style seems to forget that this is a guy who selected JD's to be his lead trainer for multiple championship fights. Was that intelligent?
It doesn't matter, Milcar. Does it matter? How does that disprove anything I just said?
No, I'm just saying he's not a guy who said a lot of.
We get
smart...
it.
Look, when
you
a guy
don't like him personally. It doesn't matter once the bell rings at all.
Right, and it doesn't matter that House is going to be in his corner. As his trainer, because Fury's got his number. You're going to see that on the Sunday morning following this fight. And I just want everyone to remember this energy that D-Style's bringing to this conversation. And I want y'all to compare it to the very low energy version. This guy's going to be looking like Dr. Ben Carson the day after this fight. Very low energy.
D-Style's never low energy, brother. Never low energy. Is it 100% of my car? You're going to say 100% again? Let's go.
If the fight happens, it's 100% that Fury's going to beat him.
That's it. He lost. You jinxed the fight.
The old 100%.
Gotcha.